Now we're coming up on the point of the year. It's been really cold the last couple of days, and we're ready to swap out the tire. And I thought I'd kill two birds with one stone here if I could, since I've wanted to paint the wheels on the R1. I thought possibly, because the weather has closed in on us here, I would kill two birds with one stone. I'll pull a wheel, pull a tire, get it down inside the house where it's a reasonable temperature. It is really cold out here today. And the last couple of rides we had in the park, the lakes are frozen, there's snow on the side of the roads. It's getting dangerous to ride up there because those wet spots get icy. It's colder up there by about 8-10 degrees than it is here. And we're in the 30s here, the very low 30s. Now, one of the things about this bike in particular, it is relatively easy to work on. It does come apart relatively quickly and easily. The putting it back together sometimes can be a little tricky getting all the parts lined up, but basically not a hard bike to work on. I think they originally designed most of this bike to that you could work on it in the pits. I guess that's the main thing. But it makes it, for us, pretty easy to get this apart. Even though these screws do have some Loctite on them, sometimes they come out relatively easy. Anyway, one of the tricks to getting the back wheel to come out nice and easy, of course, is just get the caliper out of there. When you do clean this up, of course, later, when you do have that caliper there, it just makes it a lot more work. It complicates getting it apart. Not just by loosening the axle nut, that wheel will come right off. And it's amazing how some of the bikes, just getting the back wheel off can be, well, a little more labor intensive than it really has to be. I try to keep the work on all the bikes reasonable anyway. As reasonable as we possibly can. Now once I get this off, and because it's really cold out here, what I'm trying to do is not make this an all-day job out here. I wanted to do a thorough cleaning inside there. I'm not sure today would be the greatest day to do it. We might save that for a day it's not so cold out here. Anyway, comes right apart. Once I pull it out, the back wheel will be off. The thing is, once you pull the adjusters out, then that axle has to go forward just enough to pull the chain off, and it'll come right apart. Again, this is one of the easier bikes to work on. Oh, as I'm doing this, Karen just showed up, so I got to take a break. Good excuse to take a break. The lovely Mrs. Urtanowski. The lovely Mrs. Urtanowski is going to come right out with a big cup of hot coffee. I'm freezing out here. Oh my God. Anyway, as I said, pulling this off now. It's nice if, in this case, what I want to do is I want to get down, pick the tire up with my feet, and then slide the axle out. Hopefully never having to use the rubber hammer. It just makes me feel like I know what I'm doing a little bit more than normal. And of course, this is one of the things, I always laugh about it being your lucky day, but sometimes it actually is your lucky day. Let me see if I can do it this way without even getting down on my knees. Oh yeah, I can. Wow, see, sometimes I convince myself I know what I'm doing. And there goes the tire. So what's nice about this, if this were a track day, it'd be real easy to swap this tire out, which obviously on a bike like this you have to do quite often. I just checked the mileage on this. We got about 4,400 miles out of that tire. And we might have been able to get 5,000. I don't know, but it's just, this is just a good day to do this. And I did want to paint that wheel too, so. Now, because every time I have a back tire change or have to work on the back of the bike, I try to clean in by that swing arm. It's actually not too dirty at all. It's not bad at all. But of course, we try to keep after it every time I have the back of the bike apart. The other thing is I'm going to be steam cleaning the wheel at some point in time. And when I have steam made, I'm just going to get in there and steam everything out. And that'll be, I don't even need diesel fuel in it. There's really nothing that has to be done. Cleaning this up, same as we did with the FZR. Clean this up separately. Pull the tire off here. I should be able to get this all done in under a half an hour. Now, as we always do, I always have my diesel fuel towel. Not the one I use to shower with every day. Hey, once you get diesel fuel on, this is diesel fuel. Once you get diesel fuel on a towel, washing it is not going to really get that smell out. But what's beautiful about it, it really takes and loosens the grit up, the grease, the dirt, or whatever. And it doesn't really ever hurt the paint. Two nice big things for us. So the trick is we have a 3-part cleanup here on all these parts. First thing is going to be diesel fuel. Wipe this off with a rag, a diesel fuel rag. Some simple green. And then next time we come out here and we're going to steam clean that. We're going to steam clean the wheel before we paint it. And by the way, we're finding lots of little things to use that steam cleaner for. I actually am getting good use out of it. And my bathroom tile has never been cleaner. One of the things that Karen had a good idea. She has this beauty supply place that sells aerosol spray bottles, not aerosol, they're like Windex bottles. And she saw me out here cleaning one day, and she said, "Oh, why don't you just go get one of those bottles from the beauty supply place, and you could spray the diesel fuel on." Yeah, well, that's probably something we're going to do in the near future too. And by the way, these are Sprox, and they seem to be a pretty popular thing on in the magazines and stuff. I've seen some of the racers use them and stuff, but I've had extremely good luck with these. And in my lifetime, I've tried to use aluminum sprockets to save weight. Did that once, and it did not stand the test of time. So the upgrade was these have the steel ring on an aluminum. They're light. And on an R1, you're not going to get a bike with a whole lot more power than an R1. So now we're ready for the simple green. I'll let the simple green sit a minute or so, wipe it down again. By the way, this is what I use up all of my old microfibers, but I never put the ones with kerosene or diesel fuel in with the other ones when I wash them. I basically just throw them away. Just like that towel. Sooner or later, that towel is just going in the garbage. No point even trying to clean it. Now, in my case, I just enjoy working on clean stuff a lot more than greasy, dirty stuff. And it just, I don't know. I know a lot of people think I'm a little too fanatical about cleaning things up, and it's okay. I accept your criticism, but I really do like when all the parts are nice and clean, and when this is steamed, this will be like a brand new part when it's done. And that just makes working on it so much more rewarding. Now, another little thing, I just bought a 24-pack of microfibers, and these are the really, I think, the good ones. They're nice, the long, as opposed to, and I did a thing about microfibers not long ago. These are the Harbor Freight ones, not so good. Better for cleaning diesel fuel. These are really, really nice. They were, of all places, in Walmart. They have a 24-pack of them for, I think, for $8, but I'm not sure. They might have been on sale, $8 or $9. I said I couldn't say no. I found a test to see if, I know it's an invalid test, but it's something I think, for me, it works. When I get a brand new microfiber, I go into one of the cars and clean the inside of the windshield. No Windex, no cleaner. I just wipe it with a brand new microfiber. And it gets that fogginess off 90%. Then I know I've got good ones. These cheesy ones that I bought, the Harbor Freight ones, they were terrible. They just made a mess out of everything. Now, I wanted to mention one other thing. Now, I've had there's another Sprox on the FZR. The Sprox really are, I think, a nice upgrade. Something worth considering. Now, another thing, and another little tip that I do, not that this is a be-all end-all, but I have, once the parts are ready for steam cleaning, I have them lined up. The parts that come off this side of the bike, and the parts and tools you need to get them off this side of the bike, hopefully not too much with that rubber hammer. So by having everything the way it comes off on the right side of the bike, the correct side, just makes it a little bit easier. A couple of days from now, we got to put this back together. Because with painting a wheel, and maybe we'll decide to polish it, who the hell knows, you never know. And I started out with these wheels. A little quick story. I started out with the wheels to the FZR thinking I was going to paint them. And I started cleaning them and polishing them, cleaning. All of a sudden, I liked the way they look polished. And I thought, even though I didn't start out that way, and just to make a long story short, I know Glenn used the same paint that we had left over from this job on his Ducati. This bike, I'm very lucky. I have a spare set of wheels. And, well, one of them is downstairs. I was using it for something else. But having a spare set of wheels, wish I had a spare set for the R1. I have a spare set for the GS, of course, but not for the R1. That would be nice. Then what happens is you can take your time working on them or changing tires and just go snap them right on. I would love to have an extra set. I do have an extra set for the RD. Do not have an extra set for the 650. But anyway, and the next step on this the back end of this is all set, except for the final thing is going to be to steam clean it. Next time we're out here with the steam cleaner. There's no rush on doing it today. Now I want to just share one thing I've learned. Boy, now this is something I learned the hard way. Now because I'm always waxing and buffing and everything, what happens is these special screws that Yamaha uses wind up having some wax or residue or who the hell knows what it was. And the last time I had this apart, here's what happened is, of course it's a special wrench. It's not an Allen wrench. And the wax was keeping the residue was keeping the wrench from going all the way in. So it was just catching on the edge and it wasn't getting a good seating in there to where I could get, I want to make sure that wrench because these are really socked in there and they're Loctited. And be aware with these and with the front ones too, of course. This is a not an Allen wrench. It looks like an Allen wrench if you're not familiar with these kind of tools. This is a special tool. Again, from Harbor Freight, you can get a whole set of them for probably $10. Now this is funny, and we certainly didn't plan on it, but I go to get the bolts out of this, and they're star bolts. They're T40s. So it's not a big deal. I have a T40 wrench. I go put the T40 tip, which I showed in the garage. I put it on, and immediately, well, let me just show this. Here's the set you get from Harbor Freight. The T40 is here, of course. Well, the end busted off. So I said, well, no problem. They're still open. I run over, I get a brand new one. I give them this piece, and they give me a whole new set for free. So that was pretty good. Then I figured on the way home, just in case, I wanted to have a spare one. And I said, I was passing Lowe's. So I got another T40, thinking maybe if one broke, maybe they'll all break. Well, or I could at least compare which was the stronger of the two. Well, I'm not sure which is because I don't have the screws out yet. But they have proven to be really in there. As anytime you have a steel screw in aluminum, it can be a real pain. And there's not much you can do about it. So here's what I suggest. If the well, let me just get this out. Sometime people don't really understand how this works. Sometimes you just have to loosen these up. Before you're going to get them out. And obviously when we put them back in, we'll clean everything up. We're going to steam clean it and hopefully polish all the bolts. But here's my suggestion. When you deal with these, I put some of this on about 20 minutes ago. Let it sit. Seems like it worked pretty good. But again, there's no guarantee with these bolts. Now this day really dragged on forever, and I wound up using tools, making stuff, and I wanted to share this little tip. Now, getting these bolts out, because here's what the problem is. These hadn't been out for a while, and they're floaters. What it means when they float, there's a little bit of an edge where they bolt in here that's very, very precise. And I think, but I'm not sure again, because I've been out of machine shop work for 20 years, that edge sometimes freezes up and freezes the bolts. But here's what I had to do now, and this is probably something you can use too. If you look, I know this camera is really not good at macro lensing, but if you look at it close, what I had to do, I cut slots in the last bolt with a parting wheel, and then took a 45, not a T40, the next size bigger, and just hammered it in. And it assumed, well, enough to get the bolt out anyway. But I was very, very surprised that it took us so long, and these bolts are very soft bolts. I'm surprised about that too. Now, I know why they make them soft. They wouldn't make a grade 8 bolt here, because what will happen is if you over tighten it, you strip the wheel, and a wheel is a lot more expensive than a bolt. So just like the old Japanese bikes of old that had those Phillips screws that they were made out of silly putty or something. But anyway, we did get it out, and that's about all we're going to get done today. Today, just between the tools and just everything. I'm glad today I'm ready to go and jump in the jacuzzi, and that's it for tonight. But this is a good tip, and maybe I ought to just show this one time. 1 second. Because the idea of everything we do is to share information. And I had to do this for Luciano too. See, let me show a parting wheel up close anyway. A lot of people don't deal with Dremel tools every day. This is a parting wheel, and this will cut a grade 8 bolt. It'll cut just about anything. If you buy these, I would suggest buy real Dremel ones too. They're definitely a little bit better. And what happens, that little piece gets put on a mandrel, and I know this is not a great macro lens camera, but with this, I mean, I can cut with patience. You can cut anything in half. Anyway, I know that tip, and I know a lot of people don't have a lot of these Dremel tool bits. I have this for many, many years, of course, as a modeler and everything. But I wanted to share that tip. You never know when you're going to need that. I know Luciano needed it on the steering dampener on his Ducati. We took one of these, cut a slot in it, hammered a screwdriver into the slot, and it came out. So again, the purpose of what we're doing is to share information. If we were making Gone with the Wind, we could hire some good looking actors. Instead you have me. But starting tomorrow, now I wanted to mention a final thing today. It'll give me some time to think about it. I originally wanted to paint this wheel blue, and then it'll match the MotoGP bikes. I said, no. So I haven't decided what color to make it yet, but I did have the blue stripe. And then I thought of another possibility here. And by the way, I wanted to mention something that didn't work. It definitely did not work. Here it is over here. This was one of the things that guaranteed to loosen your bolts. Yeah, well, didn't work. Not today anyway. And I always like, nobody's going to care if it works. I want to publish it, but I don't want to put out bad information. So anyway, the point was this. I know I was going to paint the inside of the wheel a different color and leave this black. And I said, that's going to start making it look like a chopper or something. So I think the bottom line is I'm going to paint the wheel all one color. I have 4 different colors to pick from. And, well, once we get this sorted out, this has been a long day. And I'm going to end this day on a pleasant note. You notice one is missing. And, oh, here it is. This actually bent. I don't know if you can see this. This is the Harbor, yeah, it's the Harbor Freight one. The Harbor Freight one bent, and the first one broke off. And then the 45 millimeter one, where the hell's the 45? I don't even know where the hell I put it. Oh, here it is. It's still on the wrench. This one, it's not exactly that shape, but I hammered it in. Sounds like I'm a butcher, but you know what? As funny as it may seem, I probably am a butcher, but the bolts are out. I'll come back to this tomorrow. So if this is the only section of this video you watched, this is going to be part 1. Remember we were doing these wheels? Same thing. It's never easy. Doing wheels, if you paint a motorcycle, and you can paint a whole bike, and it's the number one thing you see. The number 2 thing you see is the wheels. So we really want to come up with something nice for these wheels. And if this is, again, the only part you're watching, thanks for watching. And we'll see you tomorrow.